Hello everyone. In this video, we will learn graph data structure. Graphs are non-linear data structures made up of finite number of nodes or vertices and the edges that connect them. Graphs offer a way of expressing relationship between pairs of items that are one of the most important abstractions in computer science. What makes graph so special is that they represent relationship between the nodes. Let us have a look at a video outline. So these are the things we are going to cover. What is graph, graph terminologies, applications of graph, types of graph, and graph representation techniques. Let us now have a look at a graph introduction. So graph is a nonlinear data structure because the way the values are accessed from the graph is not in a linear fashion. It contains a set of points known as nodes or vertices. You can see A, B, C, D, E are vertices or a nodes and an edges that connects the graph. So we can say that a graph is a collection of nodes and edges in which nodes are connected with edges. It is important for you to become acquainted with a terminologies of a graph. Let us now see how formally we represent a graph. So a graph is defined as follows, where G equal to set of V and E, we will be provided with the vertices. There should be a finite number of vertices and edges that connects those vertices. Let us now have a look at graph terminology. So in this, let us get acquainted with this. What is adjacent node? If two nodes are connected by some edge, we say that they are adjacent nodes. So two nodes are adjacent if and only if they are connected directly with an edge. Coming with the path, so a path would be a sequence of vertices that connect two nodes in a graph. Complete graph is a graph in which all the vertices are directly connected to all the other vertices of a graph. We'll come to this. Let us now have a look at types of graph. So the graph can be represented using one of these three types depending upon the requirement of a graph. So three main important types of graph are directed graph, undirected graph, and then weighted graph. We'll come to each of this, followed by which we can have a connected graph, cyclic graph, and an uncyclic graph. So in all, there are 6 types of graph. Let us now have a look at a directed graph. When I say it's a directed graph, does mean you can see the edge 1, which is edge joining node number 1 and 3. It's showing a direction. You can go from 1 to 3 using the edge which is upper side, and from 3 to 1 you can reach with the lower edge. Here you can easily see that we cannot reach from node number 1 to node number 11, but if I am at node number 11 I can reach to node number 1 because this is a directed graph. So when edges in graph shows the direction, the graph, such a graph is called a directed graph or a digraph. We can see this is how we represent the vertices. So vertices in a graph are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and 11, which is shown over here. How many edges we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is a cycle. This is referred as a cycle. Cycle means when a edge starts from the node and ends on the same node, we refer it as a cycle. So again, this is one of the edge of graph. So this is how we represent an edges of the graph in a set of pairs. 1, 3 represents the edge moving from 1 to 3. 3, 1 represents the edge moving from 3 to 1, and so on. You can see over here 9, 9 shows this cycle. Edge starting from node number 9 and ending at node number 9. When edges in the graph have no direction shown, then such a graph is referred as an undirected graph. In this case, you can go from A to B as well as from B to A. There is no restrictions on direction. So this is how we represent it. Vertices are represented in curly brackets. A, B, C, D. Edges are represented as a set. You can see over here AB, AD, BC, and last one is BD. We don't represent it twice because this is undirected graph. Once we write AB, that also means that from B you can come to A. So AB is same as BA. No need to represent that twice. This is an weighted graph. Of course, it's an undirected graph, but it can be directed or it can be undirected. Weighted graph can be any. Here in an example, I have taken an undirected graph. So when cost is added, or we say that weight is added to an edge, such a graph is referred as a weighted graph. You can see this graph connected with an edges, but along with the edges, they are given some data value. They are given some numbers which represents weight of that particular edge, or we can say the cost of traversing from node A to node B would be 10. Similarly, cost is given for each and every graph. This type of graph is referred as a weighted graph. This is a connected graph. If there is a path between one vertex of a graph and any other vertex in the graph, we say that it's a connected graph. You can see over here A is connected to all the other vertices of the graph. So we say that this is a fully connected graph or a connected graph. Again, it can be an directional, it can be an undirected graph. This shows a complete directed graph. You can see directions are given and all the vertices are connected to all the other vertices in a graph. So this is a complete directed graph. Now, how many number of edges are there in a complete directed graph with n vertices? Let us count it: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 12. So for 4 vertex, we will need 12 edges. So we can generalize this to n into n minus 1. That is 4 multiplied by 3 resulting in 12. So this is a formula for finding the number of edges in a complete directed graph. It would be always n, where n is the number of vertices, into n minus 1. Similarly, for complete undirected graph, how many edges we would have if that is a complete graph or fully connected graph? In that case, it would be half of the one that is present in a complete directed graph, because we would not need a reverse edge, rather a single edge would represent both the thing. So we say that it's n into n minus 1 divided by 2. So for 5 vertices, we would need 5 into 420 divided by 2, which gives me 10. So 10 edges are required to complete this undirected graph. Let us now have a look at a cyclic graph. When there are no cycles in the graph, we say that it's a cyclic graph. Cycles means when you have a path from, say, particularly from E. If I am starting with my journey, I have a path to come back to E. That means this graph is a cyclic graph. That is the next cycle. You can see over here in this graph, if I start from any of the vertex, I can reach back to that particular vertex after traversing some of the nodes. So this type of graph is represented as a cyclic graph, when I start from a particular node and I have the full path to come back to that particular node. So at least one cycle should be present in the graph to make it as a cyclic graph. Let us now have a look at graph applications. So in a social network graph represents who knows whom, who communicates with whom, and the relationship in a social structure. For transportation graph, in a road network, vertices are intersections and edges are the road segments between them. And for public transportation network, vertices are stops and edges are links between them. Such networks are used by many map programs like Google Map, Bing Map, and now Apple iOS 6 Maps. Next one is a utility graph. You can say that the power grid, the internet, and the water network are all examples of graph where vertices represent connection points and edges are the wires or pipes between them. Next one is a networking graph. We can say network packet traffic graph where vertices are an IP addresses and edges are packets that flow between them. Such graphs are used for analyzing network security, studying the spread of worms, and tracking criminal or non-criminal activities. The next one is a neural network graph. Vertices represents neurons and edges represent the synapses between them. Neural networks are used to understand how our brain works and how connection changes when we learn. So we can say that a graph has so many applications in a wide variety of fields. Graph representation techniques. We have two techniques with which we can represent the graph. One is by making use of a matrix, other is by making use of list. So let us now have a look at adjacency matrix representation, in which we will be first going for an undirected graph and followed by which we'll go for directed graph. In this representation, each graph of n node is represented by n cross n matrix, that is a two-dimensional array. Now you can see over here I have 5 nodes in a graph, so 5 by 5 matrix I have created, followed by which I have marked with some zeros and ones. Now for this there is a rule, that is, if an edge is present between a particular set of vertex I and j, we will mark it as 1, otherwise we will mark it as 0. So you can see over here A is connected to B, so A to B is marked as 1. Similarly, B is connected to A, so you can see B to A is marked as 1. You can take any of this. D to D is connected, you can see D to D is 1. Whereas you can see there are no cycles at A, so A to A would be 0. So in this way we represent this matrix. For understanding purpose I have written it as A, B, C, D, E. Over here in other cases it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 as we have it in our C representation. So that was for an undirected graph. So this is for a direction when directions are present in an edge. So for any directed graph, if I want to mark the vertices, again I'll follow the same rule. I'll make a matrix of the size, the number of vertices I have. Say here I have 5 vertices, so I'll make a matrix of 5 by 5. Whenever I have a connection, I'll mark it from A to B as 1. You can see A to B is marked as 1 while there is no edge moving from B to A. So B to A would be marked as 0. So the first edge that you are starting would be your row and second would be your column. This is an adjacency matrix for a weighted graph. When the graph is weighted, instead of marking 1 and 0, we mark 1 and 0 in order to indicate whether edge is present or not. If it is present, we mark it as 1. If not, we mark it as 0. Now, but if in your graph, if edge weight are given, instead of marking zeros and ones, we will mark with an edge weight. That is, from A to B, we see that 3 is an edge weight. So we mark A to B as 3. This is an undirected weighted graph. So we will mark B to A also as a 3. We have in this graph we have a cycle at B, so you can see B to B is marked as 5, and in a similar way this matrix is filled up. For understanding purpose I have marked it as A, B, C, D, E, but when you store this in your computer it would be with a 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So always map your vertices with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 representation so that you won't make mistakes in marking an adjacency matrix. Let us now have a look at the next representation, which is an adjacency list representation. A graph of n node is represented by one-dimensional array L of a linked list, where L of I is the linked list containing all the nodes adjacent from the node. So what we do is we take a we take an array of linked list. You can see over here. So A to E for all the vertices, followed by which we store an address of a next node which is connected to A. So if A is connected to B, every time when we see this connection, what we do is we mark it, we create a node for B and we mark it over here. We store the address of B over here. When B is stored over here, it shows that B is now connected to A. And connection is, this is a directed graph, so connection is from A to B. So if I at any point of time, if I want to check nodes are how many nodes I can go from A, so in that case I'll just have to look at this A and I have to just read out the nodes in this singly linked list. So from A I can reach to B, from A I can reach to C. When B to C is marked, it doesn't mean that I go from B to C. If at all I have a path from node number B to node number C, it would be marked over here in an B array. So we say that we assign a number to each node. That's what we did. An array of length vertices. That's what we did. 5 array we created in which each entry stores a list of adjacent vertices to that particular node. Next is also an adjacency list representation, but the change over here is instead of storing those values in the list, we are going to store it as an individual array. So we say that we take an reference array where the address will be stored, and here we are going to have an adjacency array. If I say that A has how many adjacent nodes, if I want to know that how many adjacent nodes A has, so in that case I need to go to this address, I need to read this array in order to find an adjacent nodes to A. We can see over here this is an directed graph and last node, that is E, has no outgoing edges from there, so this is marked as null. So this is how we represented adjacency list using an adjacency array. Adjacency list using a linked list is preferable over this. Now let us compare adjacency matrix versus adjacency list. Here we are taking n and m, where n is number of vertices and m is number of edges. So how much would be the space requirement for adjacency matrix? It would be order of n square. Why? Because every time we mark and we create an array of n cross n. So the space requirement would be n square, whereas over here in an adjacency list, it's just an addition of number of vertices and number of edges. So depending upon our requirement in our application, we can go for either of this representation. Time taken to add the vertex would be n square, because we need to traverse the whole matrix while making an updates in an entry. Time taken to add vertex would be n square, because we need to traverse the whole matrix while making an entry. For adjacency list, that would be very less time consuming, because we just have to go to that particular node and add a newly created node to a existing list. Time taken to add or remove an edge would be order of 1 over here, because we just need to go to that particular matrix. Suppose if I want to remove an edge from 2 to 3, I'll just go to row number 2 and column number 3 and I'll mark it as 0. Similarly, for adjacency list, uh, time taken to remove an edge would be order of 1, because we just have to reach to that particular node and we'll have to delete. In this case, the time remains same, because we won't need to traverse in a matrix or a list. Time taken to remove vertex would be order of n square, because I have to remove the whole row and whole column. Similarly, in an adjacency list, it would be n plus n, because I just have to delete a particular array from that particular row. So we can say that adjacency matrix is suitable for a dense graph wherein I have so many edges connected with each other, and if a full for a fully connected graph, whereas adjacency list is preferable or suitable for a sparse graph because here I'll have to store very few entries. Thank you everyone. Please like and subscribe my channel for more videos.